let's talk about the efforts that have been made to subtype this diagnosis. This first bullet point comes out of the work of people like Terry Moffat and the longitudinal studies that have been done, literally tracking children from ages 3 to 23. And Moffat's approach to subtyping conduct disorder was what you'd call a developmental approach. She looked at all of those kids that developed conduct disorder and the different path they took to that diagnosis, right? So by taking a full developmental history, looking at taking all those adolescents that met threshold for conduct disorder, then go back and look at what they were like at 3, 4, 5, 6, and then what they're like at 20, 22, 27, right? So what she did is she used this developmental approach to subtyping conduct disorder, and she came up with 4 different subtypes of conduct disorder. The first is adolescent. We are all different in our social cognition as to what we pay attention to, but also the attributions we make to other people's behavior. This is going to wind up being very important for conduct disorder kids. You know, if the teacher's not giving me what I want, I might interpret that as the teacher is against me, or I might interpret it as, well, you know, the teacher has certain rules they need to follow too, and so forth and so on, right? And the attribution I make is going to change the way I feel towards that teacher. I'll use the example with conduct disorder kids, like if you watch a fast food restaurant, because teenagers like fast food. Yeah, so you're in the fast food restaurant. Well, when it's the lunch rush hour and it's really busy, everybody behind the counter is kind of stressed out, right? They're hustling, they're working hard. The manager's yelling, "Come on, you know, this kid might need some more intervention as we move along." Well, and another way to think about this is, of the tens of thousands of kids that get arrested in your state every year, the vast majority of them can go home with their parents. That's the end of the intervention because their parents can take care of it. But then there's a subgroup that are going to need outpatient treatment. There's another subgroup that are going to need outpatient treatment plus a probation officer to monitor their compliance with that outpatient treatment, right? And then there's a group that might need locked door care, okay? So these instruments can help us figure out who this kid sitting in front of us is and what his needs are and his risks. They're also good in that they don't just say, oh, Johnny's a high risk for future delinquent acts. They tell us where that risk comes from. Johnny's high on these risk factors, low on these protective factors. And that can help guide treatment. That can help you and I say, well, oh gosh, for a second about anger management. So anger management is tricky. You have to make sure that you're not the only one in the room working on anger management. What I mean by that is, you know, when you meet a conduct disorder kid, it may be plain as day to you that they have an anger management problem. So you'll start teaching them anger management skills. They may not see their anger as a problem. So you got to feel that out first. You have to see where they are in that stages of change model. Are they pre-contemplation? Are they contemplation? Where are they? And so you got to get a sense of that. Now, you also can't expect a conduct disordered kid to say, Doc, you got to help me with my anger management. I got a terrible problem. Can you help? No, they're not going to humble themselves that way. But if you can get a conduct disordered kid to say, well, yeah, my anger gets the best of me sometimes. Okay, now you're both talking.